They're always complaining in Jamaica that we have too many people. I doubt it, not yet. The fact of the matter is that if we could find work for our people adequately, every manufacturer would be able almost to double his output.
Jamaican Prime Ministers have served collectively over 50 years. Over that period of time, from 1962 until now, 2022, only one female has been awarded the honor of that title, that is the Honorable Portia Simpson Miller. Since Jamaica gained independence in August 1962, we have seen the likes of 9 Prime Ministers. Some would say it's 10 because of Norman Manley. However, Norman Manley was our first and only Premier. This is because he served from July 1959 to July 1962, which was 1 month before we gained full independence in August 1962. Most people are only interested in those Prime Ministers serving since Jamaica's independence, but I have included the Right Excellent Norman Washington Manley, MMQC BCL LLD, I don't know them letter them mean, in the mix because of his significant contribution to Jamaica before the full independence of 1962. In this video, we take a look at all the Jamaican Prime Ministers from Norman Manley, our first Premier, to Andrew Holness, the present Prime Minister of Jamaica.
Pressure, you just say low me. So watch now, you also. When I want a name, low me no. Low me no.
The Right Excellent Norman Manley. Norman Manley was born in Roxborough, Manchester, Jamaica on July 4, 1893, to parents Thomas Albert Samuel. Norman Manley was born in Roxborough, Manchester, Jamaica on July 4, 1893, to parents Thomas Albert Samuel Manley and Margaret. His complete name is Norman Washington Manley. He was a really bright scholar and athlete, an excellent horseman, a soldier in the First World War, and a lawyer. Manley was enlisted in the British Army in 1914 and served in an artillery regiment, meaning he was a great marksman, gaining a military medal. Norman identified himself with the cause of the workers at the time of the labor troubles in 1938 and donated time and advocacy to the cause. To describe his personality, it could be safely said that he was physically attractive with athletic build, dignified bearing, sharp features, and piercing eyes. He was acknowledged as a profound thinker, articulate spokesman, brilliant advocate, and skillful negotiator. Manley was also widely acknowledged for his impeccable integrity and statesmanlike conduct. He has been described as a man of many parts and many accomplishments. Norman Manley's educational background includes studying at Jamaica College and overseas at Jesus College in Oxford, England. He was a Rhodes Scholar. He distinguished himself at Oxford and was called to the bar at Gray's Inn in 1921. There he gained the Certificate of Honor in the bar finals and copped the Lee Prizeman Award. In that same year, 1921, he married Edna Swettenbank. She died on February 10, 1987. He has 2 children, Douglas and Michael. Manley founded the People's National Party, the PNP, in September of 1938, and he was elected its president annually until he retired on his birthday due to illness on July 4, 1969, which was 31 years later. So this man born on July 4th and him retire on July 4th. Okay. Good point. Take notes. He is Jamaica's first and only Premier, serving between the period of July 1959 and July 1962. We call him a Premier because his leadership was before we gained independence in August 1962. However, we will acknowledge him as being one of Jamaica's Prime Ministers. His legacy includes sharing with his cousin Sir Alexander Bustamante the honor of being one of the 2 founding fathers of Jamaica's independence, attained peacefully on August 6, 1962. Manley and the PNP supported the trade union movement, which was then led by Sir Alexander Bustamante, while leading the demand for universal adult suffrage. When suffrage came, Manley had to wait 10 years and 2 terms before his party was elected to office. He was a strong advocate of the Federation of the West Indies, established in 1958, but when Sir Alexander Bustamante declared that the opposition Jamaica Labour Party would take Jamaica out of the Federation, Norman Manley, already renowned for his integrity and commitment to democracy, called a referendum, unprecedented in Jamaica, to let the people decide. Come say aye. Say aye to the camera. Yeah? Yeah. Manley, in his last public address to an annual conference of the PNP, said, "I say that the mission of my generation was to win self-government for Jamaica, to win political power, which is the final power for the black masses of my country from which I spring. I am proud to stand here today and say to you who fought that fight with me, say it with gladness and pride, mission accomplished for my generation." And what is the mission of this generation? It is reconstructing the social and economic society and life of Jamaica. End quote. Norman Manley lived a full life and died on September 2nd, 1969, at the age of 76. He was named the National Hero of Jamaica later that same year. Upon being named the National Hero, his title would now read the Right Excellent Norman Washington Manley, MMQC BCL LLD.
Here with Deputy Premier Sangster of Jamaica.
The Most Honorable Donald Sangster, Jamaica's second Prime Minister. Donald Sangster was born on October 26, 1911 in St. Elizabeth, Jamaica, to parents W.B. Sangster and his wife Cassandra. His full name at birth was Donald Burns Sangster. Sangster attended Monroe College during the period 1921 to 1929, where he excelled in both academics and sports. He participated in such activities as cricket, athletics, boxing, and gymnastics. He was a well-rounded guy. Sir Donald was a serious, hard-working man and also every bit of a gentleman. He was much loved, much admired, and widely respected. Immediately after leaving school, Donald entered into legal apprenticeship to be a solicitor. He was later admitted to the practice in Jamaica in 1937. He was a member of numerous boards and committees representing the interests of farmers, Boy Scouts, educators, and sportsmen. He also attended several international conferences on behalf of the government. These were in countries such as New Zealand, England, Canada, and Barbados. Donald Sangster was a great social servant and good steward of financial resources. He was particularly loyal supporter of Sir Alexander Bustamante and a faithful deputy leader in the Jamaica Labour Party from 1949 to 1967. He served as Prime Minister of Jamaica during the period February 22, 1967 to April 11, 1967. He was the only Prime Minister to serve such a short term, and this was because of his sudden illness. Donald became involved in politics when he was 21 years old, and he served with dedication until sudden illness and death. 30 years later, he died on April 11, 1967 at the age of 51. He was never married and he never had any children. He was awarded with Jamaica's second highest honor posthumously, that's the Order of the Nation. So that is why he is today referred to as the Most Honorable Sir Donald Burns Sangster, ONKCVO. Yeah guys, so I decided to do this video in this format. So I could have get more time to talk to my subscribers and stuff like that. Because talking that video them sometimes the video just go straight through. I'm gonna get time to talk to them. You know, for tell you all thanks for support the channel and all of them things that. You know. So yeah, anyway, back to the video. Sir Alexander Bustamante. Now, Alexander Bustamante was Jamaica's first Prime Minister. As you notice, the one before was the second Prime Minister, and the one before was the Premier. Reason for that is the time that they served. Alright? Sir Alexander Bustamante was born on February 24, 1884 in a little district known as Blenheim, in Hanover, Jamaica. His father was an Irish planter named Robert Constantine Clark, and his mother was a Jamaican of mixed blood named Mary Clark Nee Wilson. He was named William Alexander Clark, but was later to change his name by deed poll. Bustamante was the second of 5 children of the Clark family. He had 3 sisters, Louise, Iris, and Maud, and a younger brother, Herbert. He also had 2 elder sisters, Ida and Daisy Clark, by a previous marriage of his father. His grandmother, Elsie Clark, Shearer, was also the grandmother of Bustamante's great contemporary and fellow national hero, Norman Washington Manley. Bustamante's education started and stopped formally at elementary school at Cocoon and Dalmally. He also did private studies, otherwise known as homeschooling. In 1904, he was employed as a store clerk for C.E. Johnson & Company on the North Coast. Shortly after this, he became a junior overseer at Belmont. Sir Alexander Bustamante shares with his cousin Norman Washington Manley the honor of being one of the 2 founding fathers of Jamaica's independence, which was attained peacefully on August 6, 1962. It was the same day, August 6, 1962, that he became Jamaica's first Prime Minister, and he went on to serve until February 27, 1967. Sir Alexander Bustamante's personality. He was physically impressive, standing at approximately 6 feet 5 inches, with gangling gait. A strong, wire body and shock of grey hair made him a sort of living legend to the masses whose cause he championed against the colonial powers. Bustamante was known for his terse and telling phrases that cut to the quick of things, and for remarkable stamina that made him work tirelessly all over the island. His works, though, were particularly at the waterfront and at the sugar estates where there were great concentrations of people. He tended to have a dictatorial style, marked, nevertheless, with sparkling magnanimity. Alright, I write it on screen. Guys, we're going to take a look now at some of Alexander Bustamante's famous quotes. In 1935, he said, "Be not afraid, do your duty towards your countrymen, towards humanity. They will thank you at least in silence. And at the right time, when the good Lord sees fit, he will bless you, even though you might not be aware of it." In 1938, "Without discipline, we cannot succeed, and with disorder, we will fail." That are true. That is so true. 1938 again. "I want the Standard to know that I represent the lower and middle class people in Jamaica. They have confidence in me." And the Standard it was a Jamaica newspaper called the Standard magazine. 1938 again. "They, not I, should be very careful. I am above them. For while they want to live forever, I am prepared to die today." And this was in reference to two policemen who was trying to arrest him at the time. Alright. 1939. "I have made up my mind to fight for the workers of this country. No longer are the workers afraid of bayonets. They are prepared to fight for their rights." Powerful words. 1947. "That is my teaching, to respect all womankind." I've never heard anyone else say anything like that. Because we have to respect females still. In 1961, "I will be among the millions who will never die. I will just fade away." Impressive. 1962. "Let us resolve to work together under the law to build a Jamaica which will last, and of which we, the generations to follow, may be proud." Sound like Shakespeare. 1962. "So many of us forget that great asset which is known as humility." Those are powerful words. 1970. "The youth of a nation are the trustees of posterity." So, with all of that, we'll take a look at the summary of Bustamante's life. Alright, I'll tell you another video with a long enough. He was the pioneer, the founder of the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union in 1938. He was also the founder of the popularly known Shower Party, that's the Jamaica Labour Party, that's in 1943. His work experience includes, but not limited to, a store clerk, a beekeeper, dairy farmer, junior estate overseer, tramcar inspector, Wall Street speculator, moneylender, and a trade unionist. He got married to Gladys Longbridge, who was his secretary for years, on September 7, 1962. This was just about a month after Jamaica gained independence, and he became the first Prime Minister of the island. They had no children together. His fulfilling life came to an end on August 6, 1977, at the age of 93. August 6th, that's Independence Day. Okay. When news reached Kingston of the historic fatal clash between workers and armed police at Frome on May 2, 1938, William Alexander Bustamante closed his money-lending business for the day and went by car to Frome with his secretary, Miss Gladys Longbridge. Bustamante felt destiny tugging at his sleeve, and he was ready to go where it led him. The tall 6 feet 5 inches and some physically strong, truculent, courageous, self-confident and stylish Bustamante had seen life in many lands and had returned home 4 years earlier at the age of 50 to settle. During the 4 years from 1934 to 1938, he had impressed his name on the society by a series of letters to the editor of the Gleaner and occasionally to the British newspapers, almost always calling attention to the social and economic problems of the poor and underprivileged in Jamaica. Between 1935 and 1936, he had conducted an anti-water meter protest. In January 1937, he had intervened in a strike at Surge Island Estate, offering his services as a mediator. Later that year, he had become treasurer of the Jamaica Workers and Tradesmen Union, founded in 1936 by A.G.S. Coombs. Bustamante and Coombs had traveled around the country promoting their union and giving up to struggling workers. By early 1938, our era was sharing platforms in Kingston with St. William Grant, whose paramilitary uniform signified an earlier association with another hero, Marcus Mosiah Garvey. The workers needed a leader, and he was ready to lead. Blessed with the natural intelligence and wit, he had gained much wisdom over the years, particularly from his wide travels. Most important, he was a born gladiator, a factor that not only suited his role as champion of the working classes, but also led him to his political career and largely determined the course of that career. Accounts of Bustamante's early life are many and varied, but a number of facts are clearly established. In April 1938, when attacked by the Jamaica Standard newspaper, Sir Alexander Bustamante told a crowd of 2,000 at North Parade that I want the Standard to know that I represent the lower and middle class people in Jamaica. They have confidence in me, end quote. Bustamante claimed that Britain, the mother country, was not aware of the state of affairs in Jamaica because she was badly informed or misinformed by Governor Denham. The Labour leader denounced Denham at a meeting of 7,000 at the parade on May 4. Sir Alexander Bustamante addressed a huge meeting at the corner of Duke and Harbour Streets. He said that what was taking place in Jamaica was a mental revolution. He and St. William Grant spoke at a number of rallies on that day. At one of them, when the security forces threatened to open fire on the crowd, Bustamante unbuttoned his shirt, thrust forward and invited the soldiers to leave the people alone and shoot him. Later in that day, at another rally, he and St. William Grant were arrested and charged with sedition. Sedition. Peace or behavior directed against the peace of a state. Sedition. Sedition. Speech or behavior directed against the peace of a state, an offense that tends to undermine the authority of a state, an incitement to public disorder. Okay. Alright. No bail was allowed. On May 27th, Norman Manley went to the waterfront to find out a first-hand account what the workers wanted so that he could take up representations on their behalf. The workers answered, "We want Bustamante." They would not return to work before his release, regardless of what other terms were offered. Manley joined a team of lawyers advocating the release of Bustamante and Grant, and on May 28 they were freed on bail. Later the charges were dropped. In 1955, the Queen conferred on Sir Alexander Bustamante the title of Knight Bachelor. In a general election on April 10, 1962, the JLP was returned to power with 26 of 45 seats in the House. Bustamante was appointed Premier. When Jamaica became independent on August 6, 1962, he was named the new nation's first Prime Minister. 1 month later, he married his private secretary, Miss Gladys Longbridge, on the day of his departure for his first Commonwealth Prime Ministers Conference. 2 years after taking office, Bustamante, now 80 years old, became ill. Donald Sangster was appointed acting Prime Minister. Bustamante never returned to active involvement in affairs of the state. He officially retired in 1967. After that, he was appointed a national hero, the only living one. He received visitors at the former Prime Minister's residence, Jamaica House, at his Tucker Avenue residence in Kingston, and at his mountain cottage in Irish Town. Buster, or the Chief as he was affectionately called, received numerous honors from many countries. A life-size statue of him stands at South Parade, the scene of real-life dramas he dominated. His portrait appears on the Jamaica $1 bill. His birthplace is a national shrine, and even a suite bears his name. In addition, Newport West, East, and adjoining port areas were renamed the Bustamante Port in keeping with the national hero's long association with the labor movement. The Children's Hospital, which Sir Alexander had converted from an old army hospital, was renamed the Bustamante Hospital for Children. In 1979, a 30-foot monument in honor of Sir Alexander Bustamante was unveiled in the National Heroes Park. He was awarded the Order of National Hero, and so today he is referred to as the Right Excellent Sir Alexander Bustamante. His complete title, though, is the Right Excellent Sir William Alexander Bustamante, GBE, LLD, and HON. The man who, at 58 years old in 1938, said he was then prepared to die, battled on for nearly 40 more years. Finally, at the grand old age of 93, he lost that fight. And showing the precision of timing that was a feature of his life, he crossed the threshold on August 6, 1977. 15 years exactly after Jamaica's attainment of independence and his appointment as our first Prime Minister. The Most Honorable Hugh Shearer, Jamaica's third Prime Minister. Hugh Shearer was Jamaica's third Prime Minister. He was born on May 18, 1923 to parents James Shearer and Esther Lindo. His complete name was Hugh Lawson Shearer. His father was a World War I ex-serviceman and his mother was a dressmaker. He grew up in the little village of Marthabury, which is just outside of Falmouth, Trelawney, in Jamaica. He was a student at the Falmouth Primary School, where he excelled and was awarded with a parish scholarship to attend St. Simon's College. St. Simon's was a privately owned high school in Kingston. He graduated from St. Simon's in 1940. Mr. Shearer entered the workforce in a time when there was intense political and labor turmoil in Jamaica. This was mostly during the period from 1938 to 1944, where Sir Alexander Bustamante and Norman Manley were both engaged in the struggle to reshape and redefine the Jamaican society. Mr. Bustamante was the undisputed head of the labor movement and founder of the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union, the BITU. And Norman Manley was the head of the first organized political party known as the People's National Party. U. Shearer's work and achievements. U. Shearer was always interested in journalism, so he was taken on as a trainee journalist in the weekly publication called the Jamaica Worker. This was a newspaper of the BITU. He was asked to understudy the then editor, Mr. Lyndon G. Newland. After Mr. Newland moved up the ranks to becoming the General Secretary of the Union, Yu continued working on the paper until he eventually became its editor. Mr. Shearer felt his efforts were not enough being only the editor of the newspaper, so he began to serve his apprenticeship as a trade unionist while he still was the editor of the paper. He took part in union organization and negotiations with employees in some of the most important labor disputes. He was with Bustamante and other union officers at the time. U. Shearer got his first taste of party politics during the 1944 elections when he campaigned for the Western Kingston constituency. This was the constituency that was held by Bustamante, where he was known as the chief. The Jamaica Labour Party won that election and Mr. Shearer continued his work in the BITU. He was determined to continue his union work, and because of his enthusiasm and efforts he was appointed Assistant General Secretary of the Union in 1947. In that same year he contested and won the Central St. Andrew seat on the Kingston and St. Andrew Corporation Council. Just a year after, in 1948, he attended a Colonial Development and Welfare Trade Union Scholarship course in Barbados. He tried again in the 1949 election to contest the seat for the Western Kingston Division and was defeated by Ken Hill of the PNP. He sat next to Bustamante in all important negotiations regarding trade union work, and in 1953 he was appointed Island Supervisor of the BITU. He was elected to a seat in the House of Representatives in 1955, where he sat on the opposition benches until the 1959 elections, where he lost his seat. A few more years passed and he was elected Vice President of the BITU in 1960. He was second only to Sir Bustamante, who was President General. Mr. U. Shearer was appointed to the Legislative Council after the JLP won the succeeded general elections. That was as a result of the 1961 referendum campaign. When the council was replaced by the Senate, Yu was made leader of the government business and also a minister without portfolio. He was also appointed Deputy Chief of Mission for Jamaica at the United Nations General Assembly and figured in many crucial international issues. In the year 1963, he presented a proposal to the United Nations, which was accepted, to have the year 1968 be declared Human Rights Year. The 1967 election saw Mr. Shearer being successful in winning the Clarendon seat, which was formerly held by Mr. Bustamante before his retirement from active politics. When the new government was formed, he was appointed Minister of External Affairs in February 1967. That same year of 1967 was a year of fate for U. Shearer. He was chosen to be the next Prime Minister of Jamaica after Donald Sangster died. Shearer was sworn in on April 11, 1967. 2 short years after that, in 1969, U. Shearer was appointed by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II as a member of the Privy Council of England. During the time that he was Prime Minister, Jamaica attained its highest ever gross domestic product per capita based on rapid growth in agriculture, mining and tourism. This amounted at the time to the humongous figure of US $2,300. He was also the main instigator in starting a system of highways. The first one was the Kingston to Spanish Town Highway. He also had laid the plans for other bypass routes, which would remove bottlenecks from all major towns. After being successful in the 1972 elections, where he retained his parliamentary seat, U. Shearer was leader of the opposition until he decided to devote his energies full-time to the trade union movement in 1974. 3 years after settling in the union, he became president of the BITU in 1977, and under his leadership, he built the BITU into the largest in the English-speaking Caribbean. Yet another general election was called on November 9, 1980, and following the victory of the JLP, Mr. Shearer was appointed Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs. He held this position until 1989 when the PNP won that election. He was conferred with the honor of the Order of Jamaica on May 23, 1990. He worked in his Southern Clarendon constituency until he eventually lost his seat in the 1993 general elections. This was when he retired from the active public life. Hugh Shearer was also awarded the Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, by Howard University in 1968 and the University of West Indies, UWI, in 1994. On October 21, 2002, he was conferred with the Order of the Nation as another Jamaica National Award. He would now be referred to as the Most Honorable Hugh Lawson Shearer, ON-OJ. Hugh Shearer died on July 5, 2004, leaving wife Denise Eldemaya Shearer, sons Howard and Lance, and daughters Hope, Hilary, and Edda.
And I think this has been done by certain elements quite deliberately to cause a certain panic in the society, to give the impression that the government's not really in control.
Michael Manley, Jamaica's fourth Prime Minister. Michael Manley was born on December 10, 1924 to parents Norman Washington Manley and his wife Edna Manley. His full name at birth was Michael Norman Manley. I'm telling about them politicians, the people, them are family. Everybody related. Michael Manley was born on December 10, 1924 to parents Norman Washington Manley and his wife Edna Manley. His full name at birth was Michael Norman Manley. Michael studied at Jamaica College in 1935 to 1943 and overseas at the London School of Economics, LSE, from 1945 to 1949. There he came under the influence of Harold Lasky, the man more responsible than any other for the training of men who later became Commonwealth Prime Ministers. At the LSE, he gained academic honors. Manley was tall, handsome, forceful, and a flamboyant man. He has been undoubtedly Jamaica's most eloquent, visionary, controversial, and dynamic leader since independence. He has been a journalist, trade unionist, party president, senator, cabinet minister, leader of the opposition, vice president of the Socialist International, and Prime Minister of Jamaica. He served Jamaica in the capacity of Prime Minister between the periods March 2, 1972 to November 4, 1980, and February 13, 1989 to March 13, 1992. He has impacted the nation with a greater sense of importance and urgency regarding national identity. And internationally, he has impacted the ideas of capitalist and socialist leaders with his advocacy of democratic socialism. Michael Manley was a prolific writer of articles and books. Some of his publications include The Politics of Change in 1973, Search for Solutions in 1977, Jamaica, Struggle in the Periphery in 1982, Up the Down Escalator in 1987, and A History of West Indies Cricket in 1988. He was married 5 times. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. His wives were Jacqueline Kemiladsky in 1946, Thelma Verity in 1955, Barbara Lewars in 1968, Beverly Anderson in 1972, and Glyne Jones in 1992. Together they gave him 5 lovely children: Rachel, Sarah, Natasha, Joseph, and David. He died on March 6, 1997 at the age of 72. Due to the fact that he was conferred with the honor of being awarded with the Order of the Nation upon becoming Prime Minister of Jamaica, his complete title is the Most Honorable Michael Norman Manley, ONOMOCC.
George Siaga, being appointed Prime Minister, do swear that I will, to the best of my judgment, at all times when so required, freely give my counsel and advice to the Governor-General.
Edward Siaga, Jamaica's 5th Prime Minister. Edward Siaga was born to parents who were traveling at the time. They brought him home when he was 3 months old. Siaga's parents were Philip George Siaga and Erna Maxwell. His full name at birth was Edward Philip George Siaga. He attended the Wolmer's Boys School in Jamaica and in the USA, Harvard University, where he graduated in 1952 with a degree in the social sciences. Siaga is a great personality. He is a serious and sharp thinker, witty and gifted in producing the apt, cutting phrase. Despite a door-looked most times, he has a great sense of humor and is known widely for his exceptional deeds of kindness and rendering of practical assistance to the poor and the needy. Edward Siaga has a great service record. He has a long and impressive record of important and innovative accomplishments, beginning formally with his nomination to the Legislative Council at 29 years old. He was the youngest person ever to hold that membership. He was also the leader of the Jamaica Labour Party from 1974. He then later became Jamaica's 5th Prime Minister in the year 1980, and he held that office for 2 successive terms. that is from November 4, 1980 to February 13, 1989. Local constituency organization and national cultural development are two areas of particular achievement for Edward Seaga. For 40 years, he was successful in a constituency that no other politician was able to hold for more than 5 years. His transformation of the depressed inner city areas within his West Kingston constituency into vibrant communities made him the unrivaled king of constituency transformation in Jamaica. Culturally though, he was the nation's leading pioneer of ideas and institutions to promote culture, nationally and internationally. Seaga has authored booklets, namely Parent-Teacher Relationship, Development of the Child, and Revival Cults. I don't know that 15. Parent-Teacher Relationships, Development of the Child, and Revival Cults, as we all do. He was also the compiler of an album of music called Folk Music of Jamaica, which was recorded by Ethnic Folkways Library. He was married twice, to Marie Elizabeth Mitson Nee Constantine, his first in 1965, and then to Carla Francis Vendries in 1996. Edward Seaga passed away on May 28, 2019, leaving 4 children, namely Christopher, Andrew, Annabella, and Gabriel. He was conferred with the honor of the Order of the Nation upon becoming Prime Minister. His official title is then the Most Honorable Edward Philip George Seaga, ONPC, LLD.
A prominent regional leader is speaking out on a very important issue. Former Prime Minister of Jamaica, P.J. Patterson, is voicing his discontent with British Prime Minister David Cameron's failure to address the issue of reparations during his visit to Jamaica.
I was taught and inculcated with the habits of always striving for the best. The school I attended had as its motto, the utmost for the highest. Giving everything that you possibly can for that which is most worthy and most rewarding.
Percival James Patterson, otherwise known as P.J. Patterson, Jamaica's 6th Prime Minister. Guys, before I go any further, just want to say thank you to all the persons who have donated to my fundraiser, my GoFundMe fundraiser. As you notice on my eyes stay, I really need to get it done. Right now the sun will come down with them. I have to keep my shades on. That's how I start from. Really appreciate the support, guys. And for those of you who donate to the PayPal, well, check it yet. For those of you who donate to the PayPal, thank you so much for doing so. And guys, please do join the Patreon. Alright? Please join the Patreon. The link will be in the descriptions below. I'll try to put it on screen also. Yes, so back to the video. P.J. Patterson is Jamaica's most successful politician at national level, breaking the third-term barrier. His style of leadership is not to rely on fiery rhetoric, but on fundamental principles of procedure. He has done more than any other political leader to date, to empower his associates and to structure a party committed to negotiate peace and settle differences through a reconciling process, rather than confrontation. His wide experience at national, regional, and international levels as a negotiator has served him well in office as Prime Minister. P.J. Patterson was born on April 10, 1935 on Russell Road in St. Andrew, Jamaica, to parents Henry Patterson and wife Ina James Patterson. His birth name was Percival Noel James Patterson. To describe P.J.'s personality and character is to say that he is slim in build, slow of speech, sharp with wit, and sure of words. This pretty much sums it up. Also, he speaks in measured tones, but prudently and perceptively, never missing the essence of issues and never needing to apologize for statements. His education included attending Calabar High School, the University College of the West Indies, and London School of Economics in England. He was called to the bar at Middle Temple in 1963 and later that year admitted to the bar in Jamaica. Before he was called to the bar though, he got married on August 24, 1960 to Shirley Field Ridley, who was from Guyana. They had 2 children together, Richard and Sharon. Shirley, his wife, sadly died in 1982. His long and distinguished political career stretches back formally to the year 1958 when he joined the People's National Party. His first cabinet post was that of Minister of Tourism, which was in 1972. He has since served as Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. That was during the years 1978 to 1980. Again, P.J. Patterson served as Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Development, Planning and Production during the years 1989 to 1990. Then his final role of being Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance and Planning during the period 1990 to 1991. After moving through several levels of the party, he finally became Jamaica's president in 1992. This is the same year he became the 6th Prime Minister of Jamaica and was conferred with the Order of the Nation. He would now be referred to as the Most Honorable Percival Noel James Patterson, ON, OCC, PC, and QC. QC being Queen's Counsel.
The Minister of Justice refused to sign the extradition warrant for Mr. Presley Bigham.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
Bruce Golding, Jamaica's 8th Prime Minister. Bruce Golding was born on December 5th, 1947. His complete name is Orette Bruce Golding. His education started at Alpha Primary School between the years of 1955 and 1957 inclusive. He then went on to St. George's College between the years of 1958 and 1962, and Jamaica College during the years 1963 to 1966. In 1966, he entered the University of the West Indies, where he earned a BSc degree in economics in 1969. In that same year of 1969, he was elected to the Central Executive of the Jamaica Labour Party at the young age of 21 and was subsequently elected to Parliament in 1972 at the age of 24. He served as General Secretary of the Jamaica Labour Party from 1974 to 1984 and as Chairman from 1984 to 1995. He has had 19 years' experience as a Member of Parliament representing the constituencies of West St. Catherine and Central St. Catherine, as well as 9 years' experience as a Senator. He was appointed Minister of Construction in 1980, serving in that position until 1989, and in that capacity was elected Chairman of the United Nations Commission on Human Settlements for the period 1984 to 1985. He was the Opposition Spokesman on Finance and Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee during the years of 1989 and 1995. He has served as a member of the Electoral Advisory Committee, the Board of Governors of the Institute of Jamaica, and the Board of Directors of the National Lotteries Commission. In 1995, he resigned from the Jamaica Labour Party and was one of the founders of the National Democratic Movement, the NDM, serving as its first president between the years 1995 and 2001. In 2002, he rejoined the Jamaica Labour Party and was again elected chairman of the party in November 2003. He was appointed Senator and Opposition Spokesman on Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade in 2002 and held both positions up to April 2005. On February 20, 2005, he was elected leader of the Jamaica Labour Party. On April 13, 2005, he was elected Member of Parliament for West Kingston. He was the leader of the opposition from April 21, 2005 to September 10, 2007. He was sworn in as Jamaica's 8th Prime Minister on September 11, 2007, where he served until his resignation from office in the year 2011. He is then to be officially labelled as the Most Honourable Orette Bruce Golding because he was conferred with the Order of the Nation. Mr. Golding is known as a businessman. He and his wife Lorna Golding were married in 1972 and they have one son and 2 daughters.
We found money wrong. The Minister of Health found some of the money and the Minister of Finance found some of the money.
Tell me something! You will not be dragged into your little lying, dirty slime! And you should know better. Draw my tongue! Watch! Because I don't fret and no man, no girl, nowhere!
The Most Honourable Portia Simpson Miller, ON, MP, is Jamaica's 7th and only female Prime Minister. She has served during the periods of March 31, 2006 to September 10, 2007 and January 5, 2012 to March 3, 2016. She served as Prime Minister from March 2006 to September 2007, after having served for 17 years as a Cabinet Minister with portfolio responsibility for Labour and Social Security, Tourism, Local Government and Community Development and Sport at different times. She was conferred with the Order of the Nation in May of 2006. Mrs. Simpson Miller was the President of the People's National Party from the year 2006 to the year 2016 and Member of Parliament since 1976. This Prime Minister, the longest list like this is the second longest list I ever read for anybody with their accomplishment or their achievements. The longest one was Michael Leach, and you can check out that video. But this one, trust me guys, that's something I would never expect. If you all did know all of this about Portia Simpson Miller, let me know in the comment section down below. If you never know, please let me know, because I know a lot of people never know, because they don't have to say Portia dance, you know. This Prime Minister has a distinguished record of service at the regional and international levels. She is a member of the Council of Women World Leaders, an international network of current and former women presidents and prime ministers whose mission is to mobilize on women's issues. Mistress Simpson Miller holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Public Administration, an honorary doctorate from the Union Institute and University, in Florida and has participated in the Leaders in Development Executive Program at the JFK School of Government, Harvard University. In March 2007, Mrs. Simpson Miller was awarded the International Olympic Committee's World Women and Sport Trophy for her outstanding dedication to women in Jamaican sports, both athletes and administrators. The leading architect of Jamaica Master Plan for Sustainable Tourism Development, Mr. Simpson Miller, has been tireless in promoting and strengthening urban renewal and community development, which have led to fundamental reforms in local government. As ex-Minister of Labour and Welfare, she presided over a significant expansion of Jamaica's overseas work program, and under her watch, the National Insurance Scheme was transformed into a major component of the government's social protection system. She was also instrumental in establishing a Labour chair in the University of the West Indies Department of Government. In 2009, she received the Distinguished Award for her dedication and commitment to urban renewal and community development from the Mayor of the City of Miami, and also the Bureau of Women's Affairs Award for the outstanding contribution to the advancement of women affairs in Jamaica. Portia Simpson Miller was also invited to sit on board of the United Nations Institute for Training and Research, UNITAR, and was presently a member of the board. With all her achievements, Portia Simpson Miller, or Mama P, as she is socially dubbed, is truly deserving of holding the title of being the first and only female Jamaican Prime Minister.
I look like a loser to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Look at me now, where them treat me less than good. Put me in a box like a rectangle. Oh, look at me now, look at me now.
Andrew Holness, Jamaica's current Prime Minister. Andrew Holness took office as Jamaica's 9th Prime Minister on October 23, 2011. Following his endorsement as leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, the JLP, he succeeded the Most Honourable Orette Bruce Golding. He is Jamaica's youngest Prime Minister and the first Jamaican head of government to be born after Jamaica's youngest Prime Minister and the first Jamaican head of government to be born after the country gained independence in 1962. He was also conferred with the Order of the Nation upon being sworn in as Prime Minister. His complete title is the Most Honourable Andrew Michael Holness, MP, and his first tenure of being Prime Minister was a short one. To be more precise, it was from October 23, 2011 to December 28, 2011. However, he returned to office on March 3, 2016 following the 2016 general elections. Prime Minister Holness has described himself as a libertarian on the social side and fiscal conservative on the economic side, and has expressed commitment to promoting and protecting human rights. As a transformational leader, Prime Minister Andrew Holness believes the political arena should give room to all people to participate provided that they meet certain standards. As an economic conservative, he has committed to prudence in government spending, fiscal discipline, and debt management. On the social side, he believes education must be one of the most critical ingredients of national development. Born to working-class parents in Spanish Town, the capital of St. Catherine, Mr. Holness is the son of a civil servant, Mistress Carol Harvey Williams, and farmer Morris Holness. He attended the St. Catherine High School, where he was both head boy and a valedictorian. He attended the St. Catherine High School, where he was both head boy and a valedictorian. He is also a graduate of the University of the West Indies, where he obtained a Bachelor of Science degree in Management Studies and a Master of Science degree in Development Studies. Mr. Holness served as Executive Director in the Voluntary Organization for the Upliftment of Children, VOUCH, from 1994 to 1996, and then joined the Premium Group of Companies, where he was Special Assistant to former Prime Minister, Most Honourable Edward Seaga. In 1997, he became Member of Parliament for West Central St. Andrew and served as Opposition Spokesperson on Land and Development from 1999 to 2002. In 2002, he shadowed the portfolio of Housing and then Education in 2005. He was sworn in as Minister of Education in September 2007 following the victory of Jamaica Labour Party in the general election that year. As Prime Minister, he then chose to retain the education portfolio. Prime Minister Holness has 2 sisters and 3 brothers. He is a Seventh-day Adventist by faith. He is married to Juliet Holness, who is a chartered accountant and a businesswoman, and they have 2 sons, Adam and Matthew. Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know if you enjoyed this video, if you found it informative. Tell me if you like that setup here. Tell me if I'm boring. Tell me if you prefer if I do the video that way here. And once again, thank you all for your support. And like seriously, well want done the video, so stay blessed.
Jamaica.
forget to drop a like and a comment. Don't forget to subscribe.